Hello. It's time. It's time for another episode. It's been a minute. By the way, this isn't one of those podcasts that I'm just going to post every week, okay? That's probably a rule, but I'm just doing this whenever I feel like it. I might do a lot over the next 6 weeks. I don't know. It doesn't matter. What matters is that a few months ago, I sat down with one of my comedy heroes. He's a really big comedian. I think he's still the best-selling comedian of all time. He sold more albums than any other comedian of all time. You definitely know who he is. Your parents know who he is. Your kids may not, but you and your parents know who Jeff Foxworthy is. He's larger than life as a comedian. But the thing about Jeff, we've been friends for a long time. In real life, he's not larger than life. He's like a real guy with kids and a wife and dogs and millions of dollars. Just a normal guy living a normal life with a wife and a kid and tens of millions of dollars. But in all seriousness, Jeff has been a mentor to me for years and years and years. And I don't say that, I know when I say that, you're thinking, oh, he's teaching Tripp how to do comedy. Clearly he's not. Clearly he's not teaching me how to do comedy. But he has been someone that I can go to for years about real life stuff. Here's an example. We met up for lunch not too long ago, and the intent was to talk business. There was something I wanted to talk to him about, get his advice on, pitch him, and we never got to it. We never did because we started going down the road of being a grandparent and being a dad and having parents. Hours went by, and we were like, I guess we'll have to do this again. And then we didn't. Instead, we did a podcast, and it was so fun. I can't wait for you to watch this episode. It's like just kind of sitting there. I went to Jeff's house. We sat in his office, and it's like a museum. His office is like a museum. And of course, there's redneck paraphernalia and all that stuff. But there's also museum stuff, like arrowheads. If you're listening, you won't see. I would encourage you to watch the YouTube version so you can at least see. Also in this episode, I'm finally revealing my sponsor. If you've been listening for the last year, you know that I've always dreamed of having this one product be my sponsor, because it's a product that I use every single day. And I'm the only person I know that does, but more people should. And I've just been announcing them as a sponsor and bleeping it out and blurring it out, just determined to get them to answer my DMs. And they did. And they were so excited, and it happened. And today I'm going to let you know who they are. And I'm going to do it with Jeff, somewhere in the middle of this episode, depending on how it gets edited. Anyway, that is the intro of all intros in this rigged setup, because my studio's torn down. We did a client job. So if you're looking at this on YouTube and you're like, that looks different, the lighting doesn't look good. Why do I see wires? Why is there a red curtain? Why is there a green screen? It's because I'm doing something that someone's paying me to do. And so I have to do it the way they want me to do it. So I had to tear my studio down and rebuild it into something else. Anyway, I'm so happy to be posting another episode. I'm so happy that you listen still. And I hope you enjoy it. This is one, let me just make a recommendation. This is one where I would just sit back and just kind of enjoy being in the room with Jeff. He's got so many great stories. This isn't going to there's no profound, well, maybe there was. Was there any life advice on this? Not really. It's story time with Jeff Foxworthy. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of tea or Nestle's Quick, whatever that you want. Or, you know what? Grab and enjoy this episode. It's crazy that I'm in Jeff Foxworthy's house.
Why?
Because Jeff, how long have we known each other? 20 years? 20 years?
20, yeah.
But you've been part of my whole life. My first tape of yours.
Tape is the giveaway.
You remember what year? Your first, it would have been 90?
Yeah, right around 90.
Yeah, I was 11 years old.
Wow.
And I had that thing memorized.
Did you really?
Yes.
Would you do it for people and make them?
No, but I liked to quote it. Yeah. I like to take credit.
Sure. If it gets a laugh.
You've been doing this so long.
I know. I was saying the other day, literally my goal when I quit my job at IBM, my goal was to do this for 2 years, because I thought I'm probably going to have to come back with my hat in my hand and beg for my job back.
Mm-hmm.
but I will have a really cool story when I'm old to tell my grandkids, hey, I was a comedian for a couple of years. What? Yeah, oh yeah, and 2 years has turned into 41.
How many times has IBM hired you to come back?
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? No, I'm
and
saying
paid
like,
me much more than
I
they
was
were
gonna say,
paying me then. And they would have fired me way a long,
no,
long
but have you done
ago.
a corporate event for IBM?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Do you tell that story, of course?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's wild.
And the day I went in to quit, they told me that they were going to send me to manager school. So I go in my manager's office to tell him I'm going to quit. And he goes, well, before we get to whatever you want to talk about, I just want you to know, we really appreciate what you're doing. We're going to send you to manager school. And I'm like, no, you're not.
I'm going to go become the best-selling comedian of all time is what I'm going to do.
I fixed it. The last job I had there, I repaired computers. I fixed broken computers. Sounds more glamorous than I carried a tool bag like a briefcase. And,
So you were into computers.
yeah, but it wasn't a good match. It was really the way I got into comedy. I was the guy in the break room doing impersonations of the boss. And everybody would be laughing, and then you'd look in the doorway, and the boss would be standing in the doorway. I was that guy. So,
But as a kid, did you realize you were funny?
yeah, and both sides of my family were funny. I remember I'm probably 8, 9, and I got a tape recorder for Christmas.
Uh-huh.
The kind where you hit the big,
It was brown.
clunky
I had
buttons.
it. Yeah.
And so Christmas morning, I get this thing, and I'm so excited. And by myself, I'm like, all right, what can I record? And I went and got 2-gallon empty milk jugs. And this was my first recording. So it's the alarm clock going off, me turning it off, and you can hear, then I record myself walking, door open, door closed. You hear the toilet lid go up, and I take the first of the gallon milk jugs and very slowly start pouring it into the toilet. Well, this goes on for five minutes. And at first, it's not that, the adults are like,
Right.
Well, by minute 3, and it hasn't stopped. And then, so when I get to the end of the first jug, and then it's like, boy, boy, boy. And then I grab the second jug and I start over again.
That's a thing now on TikTok.
And
People are doing that.
people were howling. I mean, aunts and uncles and all, they were like,
Wait, so you would just go play the tape back for them?
yeah, I was like, all right,
What's the context of, okay, guys, listen to my tape recording?
said, I made a tape. I made a tape. And they would, the alarm clock, the steps, and at first it wasn't a funny, but the longer it went on, I mean, they were like gut laughing, like tears.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I thought,
More of that,
I have
please.
a power. You talk about affirmation when you can
Yep.
do that.
Yeah.
And so I was fascinated by comedy. Like I would save my allowance and I would buy Bill Cosby, Flip Wilson, Bob Newhart. I'd buy records and I'd memorize them. I'd go to school and do them. Always get in trouble for making people laugh during class. And I even remember as a kid, like my mom would always watch The Tonight Show. And my bedroom door wouldn't be all the way closed, but mostly closed. But by the hinges, there was a gap, and I could hear The Tonight Show. And if I heard comedians, I didn't care about actors or singers. I would get up and I would go peek through, the thing, and I would watch the comedians. But it never dawned on me I could do it.
But you were studying it. You just didn't know.
I didn't know. Yeah. But where I lived, you got a job the weekend after you graduated college. I mean, high school.
Oh.
Very few people went to college. And I had no idea you could actually do it. I thought God had put like 7 comics on the planet and that was it.
Right. And I think people still struggle to feel like they can do what they want in life. What gave you the courage to just go try it?
Well, a bunch of people at work entered me in a contest, not an amateur night contest. It was called the Great Southeastern Laugh-Off. It was for working comics.
Okay. At the Punchline?
At the Punchline. And so I went with them one week, and I was watching, and I'm like, okay. And I went home and wrote 5 or 6 minutes about my family. And I went down there to the contest, and I won. Going up against I won the first night.
Against working comics.
And I remember driving down Roswell Road, beating on the steering wheel, going, I won. And I knew, I was so nervous, but I knew a minute into it, I'm like, this is what I want to do. And I wrestled with it for a couple of months, and I'm like, God, you can't quit a job like this. This is a great job. I've got medical insurance, dental.
Right.
And I was sitting in the break room one day, and there were like, and again, I'm 20, and there was 3 guys in their 60s sitting there in the break room, and one of them was saying, you know, I always wanted to own a hardware store. I wish I had had a hardware store. I would have loved having a hardware store. And one of the other guys, I wish I had done, and I thought, holy hell, I don't want to be sitting in this break room when I'm 60 going, I wish I had tried to be a comedian. And actually, the first night I did comedy, I met my wife that night. She was there.
She was at the Punchline that night?
She was acting, and she had just done a thing, and one of the guys in it was a comedian.
I did not know this.
And so a bunch of people from their thing went down there to root for him. He was in the contest. And so my first night on stage, I also met my wife. I met my career and my wife 2 minutes apart.
Your whole life came together in one night?
One 2-minute period. And
is that how many minutes you
that
had
was
to go?
like a 2-minute, that was a Tuesday.
And did you do You Might Be a Redneck?
No, God, no. No. That was way before. Redneck won for several years later.
Really?
Because I had just moved back. IBM had transferred me to Sarasota, Florida.
Okay.
So I was doing material about living in Sarasota, which was God's waiting room when you're 20 years old. And she was the only one, like everybody else thought, you can't quit a job at IBM. This is a good career. And I remember one night we were sitting there and she said, if you spend your life not doing something creative, you are going to have a miserable life. You have all this creative stuff inside of you that really needs to get out. So she was the only one.
Wow. Is that when you realized this is marriage material? Or is it?
Well,
or is
it
this
was
once you
like
were
the
married?
first. It was like the first person that got me. The first person that ever
It is.
got me.
I'm convinced being creative is lonely, because
It is.
it is really hard for people who don't have that itch to understand what it's like. Some of my best friends in the world, I can tell that to them, I'm just I have this weird, special, idealistic thing that I always think I need to do. And I'm like, you don't understand. Like I have to. I don't care if it's successful or not. I have to create. It's all I know to do.
It's not even, I don't think the success enters into it. Like for me, I wasn't thinking, how much money can I make being a comedian? It feels great to write something that makes other people laugh.
Yeah, man.
And if you look, I mean, like this is full of all kind of, this is paints. So I paint, I draw. I just started studying how to restore because I love to look for arrowheads. But most of them you find are broke. And so I've been studying how do you restore a broken arrowhead. And I'm like, I'm going to learn to do that.
So you're just making stuff, painting, drawing.
Yeah, I mean, books, notebooks piled in drawers full of, and so.
But was
It's
anyone
like
else
she says, if you're not doing something creative, you're like.
Yeah. Was
not
anyone
a-
else in your family creative, or were you the oddball?
I mean,
that way?
probably the oddball. I mean, but like in the first grade, I can remember drawing with crayons and things, and the teachers would send me to other classrooms, go show their class what you drew. And as a kid, I thought that's probably what I would, if I was going to do something creative, that I would have been an artist. Because twice in high school, I won the governor's honors thing for art, which was during the summer, but my dad wouldn't pay for it because he thought art was sissy.
Well, that's why I asked, because even when I grew up in the 90s and late 80s, being creative and doing art was not cool. It's cool now. It was not cool.
It was
then.
not cool. No, my
like
dad.
Football was cool.
And I went and I played football.
Okay.
And I would have had to have missed like the first week of summer practice. And my dad's like, "No, you ain't going to art, some dumb art thing. You're play football." But if I had, I may have never been a comic. I may have been an artist.
And you would have been successful at it.
Maybe because it was a passion.
Right.
And it's funny when now you get like me and you're old and people ask you for advice. I think people sometimes give the wrong advice because you hear people go, "Well, you got to chase your dreams or you chase your passion." I think you can have a passion for something that you're not good at. Like I love music. I can't play anything. I can't read music. I can't sing, but I love music. I got a passion for it. But I'm good at writing.
That's amazing advice.
So instead of telling somebody to chase your passion, my question to them is, what are you good at? Because if you're good at it, you're going to be successful at it, which is going to drive you to push the boundaries of what you do. Because your passion, if you suck at it and you're broke all the time, it's not going to matter.
Well, the other thing is
I think it's a gift.
Right.
I think I really, like I don't take pride in being funny because I don't know why I can do it.
You didn't choose that brain chemistry.
I mean, and I'm very thankful. I mean,
Right.
I think I've had the greatest job in the world, but I don't know why I can do it.
Right. That's so humble. Do you still write jokes a lot?
I was writing jokes this morning. Yeah.
What's the latest joke you wrote? Can you tell us? This will be fun.
All right. So I was thinking about
I'm so nervous.
why.
Because what if it's bad? What if Jeff Foxworthy wrote a joke?
Well, can I tell you this?
It's
Part of what makes comedy so interesting to me, if I laid carpet for a living, after 40 years, I would know what works and what doesn't. I would know how to do a corner. I would know, hey, if I've got to go up the stairs, this is how I do it.
But only if you did it for 40 years.
If I did it for 40 years, I would know. After 40 years of doing comedy, I still don't know what the audience is going to laugh at. I can think something is really funny, and I go down to the club and try it out, and it's crickets. But I think that's what keeps me interested. Because it's like the woman you can't quite figure out. Just when you think you've got her figured out, she does something else. And that keeps me chasing it. So, and this still happens a lot. I mean, I'll go try something and it's just nothing. And I'm like, really? That's not funny?
Yeah. I mean, you can catch any of the greats testing material out at a club one night and you can be really disappointed.
Oh, God, yes.
But certainly at an open mic, you see the guys that thought they had it because they made their friends laugh around the dinner table a couple of times. And then you watch them realize, oh, this is something else that I have to learn how to do. I can't just be the funny one in my friend group and pull off 5 minutes on stage.
No.
And I know that for sure because I've failed at it many times.
All right, so this is what I wrote this morning. Because I was thinking about what are old people? Because I'm 66. I don't feel old.
That's unbelievable.
Mentally, I don't. I mean, I still do everything I ever did, but I remember when my grandmother turned 60 and I was praying that she would live through the night, because she was 60. So it's like a club. It's like an old people's club.
Okay.
And nobody fills out an application. The way you get put in the club is like you're loading stuff in your car and your son-in-law runs over and goes, whoa, 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 let me get that. Let me do that. And which is what he's saying. But what I hear is, I don't want you to break your hip because I don't feel like going to the hospital this weekend, you know?
Right.
But so I thought it's a weird club because if you can remember the secret password to get in, then they have to kick you out, which is stupid.
No, that's actually good.
And there's little signals to let others know you're in the club. Like all men have a little bit of pee right there on the front of their pants, and women have bright red lipstick on their lips and their chin and a little bit on the side of their nose.
Right.
Yeah. And then, so the very last joke that I wrote was, so if you're in the old people's club, whether you've had a bowel movement or you're waiting on a bowel movement doesn't matter. What matters is if you feel free enough to discuss it in graphic detail in front of any and every one, which is where my 88-year-old mother is. That's her stage in life. My mother, who was always so prim and proper, will talk about bathroom stuff.
Just at the dinner table?
Yeah. It's just like we're talking about the weather. And I'm just, I don't, because once you get a visual in your head,
oh God,
you can't get rid of it.
That's good. That's going to work.
Well, we'll see.
So where do you try out new material these days? Because
Same place I always have. I don't want to try. It's very hard, like if you're doing a concert,
right,
to do it in front of.
Right.
So I usually run down to the Punchline or the Laughing Skull, and I have little note cards, and I'm like, hey, is this funny? Is this funny? And I'll even talk to them now. Like if it doesn't get a laugh, I go, is it just not funny, or did you not understand how I was setting it up? And they'll go,
I didn't know you were still doing that. I noticed you're still workshopping there.
Yeah. And
That's awesome.
I'll call down there and go, I don't want to do it on a Friday or Saturday night.
Right.
Because they laugh at everything. I want to do it on a Tuesday when there's 35 people in there, because they'll be honest.
That's awesome. Do you have any specific memories of bombing? I know every comic's used to that, but have you ever bombed when you really were counting on not bombing?
Yeah. Not often, though. See, and the first time I went up, it went great because bombing is so bad. Like if I had bombed the first time, I'm not sure I would have done it.
You never would have done it again.
Well, I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe.
Was the room full of mostly people you worked with?
I mean, there were some. There were like 7 or 8 people from work, but out of 300.
But it was a bunch of strangers.
Yeah.
And you just went up there.
And Greg was there, and I told him up front, this is my first time doing this. So, and she's like, he's lying. That's part of his act. And,
right. Because it was that good.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you're like the OG. You're like one of the greats. Are you still the best-selling comedian of all time?
Best-selling comedy recording artist.
Comedy recording artist. Okay, fine. Okay.
Which is crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, you're on the Mount Rushmore.
No.
Yeah. Who's on your Mount Rushmore? I have a part 2 to this question. That was actually set up to a different topic, but who's your comedy Mount Rushmore? Who do you think are the best comics of your lifetime?
Talking about stand-up.
Stand-ups, yes.
Well, and you'll catch grief for this, Crosby. What he did socially was horrible.
That's fine.
He was a fabulous stand-up comedian.
Okay.
Crosby, Carlin, Pryor.
The other OGs. They were performing when you were little.
Yeah. Oh, that's who I listened to.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good ones. I got to tell you, Leno in the 80s in a club, I've never seen anybody get bigger laughs than Leno.
Really?
Leno, when he was doing clubs in the 80s. Murdered.
Wow. Okay, so the reason I even brought that up is because when I first met you, that was my only context for you. You were this.
I was the guy that went to your church.
You went to my church? Well, no, we called you. I called you because I got your number from Chuck Scott when Tyler was doing Young Life.
Yeah.
And we were just getting into sketch comedy on YouTube. He was like, "Oh, you should meet Jeff."
And then he just texted us your number. And Tyler's like, I'm not calling him. Tim's like, I'm not calling him. I said, I'll call him. So I call you, and you met up with us, and we shot some Christmas sketch. I don't even remember this. We met over at North Point.
I had a red cashmere sweater.
Yeah, it was about practical gifts. It was a great premise. The joke, ice trays, coat hangers.
Yeah.
It was
things people could use.
That's right. It was moderately funny, but it wasn't amazing. But anyway, that's who you were. And what I didn't realize until I had the chance to have conversations with you, that you kind of shifted from being this OG comic to like just one of the best humans. Like I found myself wanting advice from you with family issues that were coming up. I don't know if you remember this, but I called you and Greg one time. It was like 10 years ago. And I'm like, I don't remember what it was, but I was dealing with something. And then for a while, you were kind of like a mentor of mine. I had like a group of, I'd emailed a couple of people I looked up to. You were one of them. And we would meet for lunch. And I don't think, actually, I do think a lot of people know this about you, but I don't think they realize to the extent that you're just a truly good person.
Well,
you're a dad.
Kind. Thank you.
I mean, it comes through in your comedy. Like everyone can listen to your albums and go, okay, that family man. You talk a lot about your kids, your uncles, your aunts. I don't even know if those are real people, but your kids are. And so the impact that you've had in my life has been more so just like modeling what it's like to be a decent, good person. Then, of course, we spent all those years at the Atlanta Mission, which was really special. And I was just telling Zach on the way down here about the time that we gave those cars away.
Oh man!
At the conference, he was like, "How do you know Jeff?" I was like, "Well, we go way back, but here's a couple of memories," and that was one of them. So that was a long setup. The question that I have is, how in the world have you been able to be a celebrity and such a normal guy? How did you do that? Because that's not typical. Do you know what I'm asking?
Yeah, but
you're kind of like the dad at the school.
I hope so.
You were.
I mean, I would, if my kids were going to school, I would volunteer. I'll open car doors one day a week. I'll be the patrol guy.
But how did you not? What would you attribute to being a honest, humble person when you have every reason to be kind of a diva if you really wanted to be? What is that?
I don't know. I mean, my mom she was always kind. In her family, because my dad left early, they didn't have much, and they were very.
You're not just fooling me, right? You actually are a good person. Like this hasn't been an act every time we've sat down.
I really try to be. No, but I remember, and it's probably been 15 years ago. I was doing an interview with some lady over the phone, and she said, "Okay, you're a comedian. You paint, you draw, you invent games, you host game shows. Which one are you?" And I thought, well, that's a weird question.
Yeah.
And I said, well, all those things you listed, those are things I do. And I've always been driven to, if I'm going to do something, try to do it really well. Don't just half-ass it. I said, but when you say, which one are you? I said, who I am is I'm a husband, and I'm a dad, and I'm a son, and I'm a brother, and I'm a person that lives in this community, and I'm a child of God. That's who I am. So what I do will probably and hopefully change many, many times, because I like doing different things. What I do will be changing, but I want the who I am to be consistent through there.
Right.
And maybe it's tied to my faith. It's like just an understanding of where I fall. So if I have these abilities, how can I have attitude or be
Right.
a diva about it? Because I don't know why I can do it.
Sure, but you realize that, and there's so much entitlement typically with stars.
And I just look at that like when I go to do a show, they laugh at me because in my dressing room, my requirements when I go to a show in the dressing room, a cup of coffee and a bottle of water.
Wow.
And they just laugh and go, no, people have like 7-page riders of
Right.
which way the ham is cut and sliced. And I go, I can buy a sandwich. I'd love a cup of coffee and a bottle of water. That's all I need. And they just laugh. But it's funny, Tripp, like you never know what your brain is going to snatch and retain. And I remember it was after my dad left, and I was living with my grandparents at the time because my mom was still up in South Carolina, and she had my brother and sister. And I was living with my grandparents over the summer, and I was watching an interview on TV with Richard Petty, and who was like the king of NASCAR.
Right.
And they asked him, what's the best advice you can give to anyone? And he said, don't outgrow your raisins. Meaning raisins, the way you were reared, the way you don't outgrow your raisins. And it's like, this is who you are. This is where you grew up. Don't think just because things go your way, that's not who you are. So that's to this day, that's been 55 years. That's stuck with me. Don't outgrow your raisins. I'm still that little kid from Hapeville with a dirt yard. And the other thing, Hapeville was not an affluent community. We always had good baseball. And one year we went to play somebody, and we had old uniforms. We didn't have we had like the old wool button up, you know. And when we were getting off the bus, I remember them making fun of our uniforms. I was a kid, but I remember them making fun of, oh my God, look at those old uniforms, blah, blah, blah. And I remember being a kid thinking, you don't know anything about me. So you're judging everything about me based on my shirt. Flash forward 40 years and you become successful, and with that comes wealth. And then people are like, oh, yeah, well, and it's like, again, you don't know anything about me. You're just judging me by my shirt. What's inside the shirt is the same little guy that got off that bus. Same guy.
You've experienced the gamut
I have.
of socioeconomic status.
When I quit IBM, I think I was making like $32,000 a year. My first year of comedy, and I found the old like pocket calendar because I would write down every show. First year of comedy, I did 406 shows. I made $8,300 for the year. So I made a quarter of what I was making.
Were you worried you weren't going to be able to?
Oh, well, look
Keep
at
going?
it now and go, how did I pay for gas?
Yeah.
How did I remember going on the road for like a week, and Greg would give me $30 for the week. That was my. I remember
You can't go to McDonald's for $30.
No, I remember well, but like when I worked in New York, there was a place called Gray's Papaya where you could get hot dogs for 50 cents. So I know I could get 2 hot dogs for $1, and I would walk like 20 blocks to get to Gray's Papaya so I could eat lunch for $1. I had a gig one time in Sarasota, Florida, at a Holiday Inn. They had a little comedy club within a Holiday Inn. So I drive to Sarasota, which at the time, it was before 75 was finished. I think it took me like 9 or 10 hours to get there.
Wow.
And I got there and I walked in, and the guy goes, oh, dude, I wish you'd have called first. We closed the club last night. Well, when you did the gig, you got to stay in the hotel, and they would give you a meal.
Okay.
And I went,
And the club closed.
the club closed. So I drive down like on a Monday, and they decided Sunday night we're out of business. And I'm like, no. And I think I was making like $200 for the week. And I said, well, can I at least get a hotel room and then I'll drive back in the morning? No, the hotel room was part of you performing here. So I drove from Atlanta to Sarasota, had that conversation, went and peed in the bathroom in the lobby, got back in the car, and started driving back to Atlanta because I didn't have a credit card. I didn't have enough money for a hotel room, so I couldn't spend the night. And when I was getting like to Macon, I realized I'm not going to have enough gas. So I'm like pulled off in the gas station. I'm digging under the seat for change and things and putting like 61 cents of gas in the car. And I get to the south side of Atlanta and the fuel light's on. And I'm like, not going to make it. Sun's coming up.
You've been up this whole time.
Drove the whole time by myself.
Oh my God.
So I'm like at Hateville down by the airport.
Yeah.
And sun's coming up, and I realize if I stay on the road, I'm going to run out of gas. So I get off and I pull it off the exit into a gas station, and I'm just trying to think through what do I do, because I don't even have no cell phone. I don't have a quarter to make a phone call. I have nothing, and I'm sitting there, and as I'm trying to think through it, a guy I went to high school with pulled in to get gas, and I was so embarrassed that I was that broke. I went over to him. And I said, dude, I am so embarrassed. I left the house this morning without my wallet. Could I borrow $5 so I could get some gas? I'll pay you back. Yeah, $5. Put the gas in, had enough gas to get home. 10 years later, he shows up. I'm playing Chastain Park, and he comes backstage. And he goes, remember when you... And I said, oh, God, yeah, here's the $5. He goes, I don't want it, because this makes a much better story.
Oh, my God. What's his name?
Steve Drawn. He passed away.
Oh.
He was a great guy. Played football with him in high school.
I mean, you didn't even have enough money to eat.
No, I didn't get anything
gas.
to eat or drink. It was all going in the gas tank. I think I had a cup and I got some water out of the water fountain.
And you didn't think to call Uber? Or?
I didn't have a phone.
I mean, the reality of being somewhere without a phone already feels like it never happened. But I mean, that was my childhood, even in high school. I'm thinking about my kids being 16 and driving right now, and me not being able to
Florida.
Yeah, my mom, my grandparents lived in right across from Marist over on Ashford Dunwoody, and when I turned 16. My parents would live. I would just get on the car, get on 285 from Gwinnett County. I'd go all the way around. This is 7-lane highway.
Yeah.
No cell phone. No, they just hoped I came back.
That's funny. There's a joke, and that's the comic mind.
What is it?
Their plan was they hoped I came back. I mean, that was
right.
That was it.
That's it. That was it. Like they just. Every time I left the house, it was like some little thought went through their head, probably like, well,
hope he comes back.
And now, I mean, I can just look on my phone. I can see where Hannah is.
Yeah, the exact address.
Right. And I'll never know that. My kids will leave, and I'll just call them.
Yeah.
The other night, Miles, he's 9, and he was with his little buddy in the neighborhood. And it was during the Super Bowl, and they would go to his house and watch a little bit, then they come to our house. And eventually what they did is they snuck in the garage and stole a bunch of ice creams and went in the woods.
Sure.
And I was trying to figure out where they were. I was out on the deck yelling for them. Drew's dad was yelling for Drew. And I thought, it was the weirdest feeling to not know where someone was. I'm like, I've not felt this in so long. But it's the only stage of life left. I mean, he's too young for a phone, but he can leave. And this is only going to be a few more years.
Oh, yeah.
But outside of that, there's never a situation in my life where I don't know where a person is, or I can't find out, or I can't text them. Or it was the most bizarre feeling.
I remember being 10, 11 years old. 10 or 11 years old. My dad's farm where he grew up, it was just an old house. And me and my two buddies would take a 22 and a shotgun and take off walking through the woods, having no idea. And we would get lost.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we found a creek. Well, that's not our property. Oh, well, we found a creek. And then we ended up on no phones, a 22 rifle, and a shotgun. And we would be gone.
You'd get arrested as a parent if you let your kid do that.
And we
now.
would be gone all day long.
Right. I miss that for our kids.
I read an article that I got the magazine somewhere. I kept it, but it was talking about the advantage we had when we were just left to go off and explore. We learned cooperation. We learned working together because we had to solve problems. How do you get over the creek? How do you get through the pipe? How do you build the tree? So, and all of those elements of and within it, somebody became the leader because they were the leader. And
you also learn to trust yourself and have courage to make a choice in a situation where now you don't. I mean, you can just you have access to all of the information. So why, if you can't even get lost in a city.
no,
You can't get lost in a city, much less in the woods. You still probably have signal, and you can say, what do I do if I see a snake that looks just like, oh, take a picture. Okay, here's what I do. There's no survival skills necessary.
no.
I mean, maybe we don't need them, but
Oh, I think we do. I think we think we don't need them. Let the power go out. Let the power grid go down.
we're screwed.
And in 24 hours, people are killing each other.
Yeah, they will. That worries
And
me.
then those survival skills.
Are you a prepper?
No, but I understand the mindset.
Okay.
I know well enough, I think, I know how to take care of myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a bow hunter. I'm a fisherman.
You wouldn't starve.
I grow my own food at the farm. So
yeah, you'd have people looking to
I
you.
know how to do those things.
I don't.
But if you had an urban area and all of a sudden nobody's got a cell phone, nobody's got a grocery store, how long do you think it would take before people busted the front window out of
I've
the
run this
grocery
scenario
store?
before. It wouldn't be 24 hours
No.
because people would panic. It's just the idea
Yeah.
of it maybe being 24 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, so that got dark fast.
It did.
But speaking of dark, actually, I can't give away the segue yet. That is a segue. I'll come back around to it. I've been very intentional about not making this a business venture, this podcast. I have no interest in selling sponsors. I'm not trying to make money. I'm trying to have conversations that I enjoy. That being said, for every episode so far, I have mentioned a sponsor that I do not have, and we've bleeped it out because I thought if there was ever a sponsor, it would have to be something that I really did love.
I get it.
You get it. You've
I've turned down
You've
a
had
lot
brand
of
deals.
things because I'm like, I wouldn't use that.
right. And sometimes it's worth just pretending you do. But for this medium, this is a side gig, okay? And I have told my audience that at some point I really hope they would become a sponsor, and it has happened. We have talked. They were very excited to know that I like their product. They're very excited to know that I've been talking about them without anyone knowing what they are. And so it just so happens that this is the first episode I've shot since I can officially say who they are.
Deal is done.
A lot of people have been trying to guess because all I've said is this is a product that I use every single day, sometimes
God, I'm
twice.
hoping it's not Vaseline.
Well, that'd be 3 or 4 times a day. The product is a food.
Okay.
It's something I consume every single night of my life for the last 3 or 4 years, with very few exceptions. I have consumed a Diana's banana. This is a frozen chocolate-covered banana.
Where do you get it? In the grocery store?
I get it at Publix.
Really?
They are delicious.
I've never had one.
Only 130. You've never had one.
No.
Only 130 calories. Would you like one? Could I offer you
Yes, because I always get hungry like late at night.
one? Yeah.
But you go like my son-in-law told me the other day.
If you want ice cream or something.
2 Oreos, 2 are 140 calories.
So I believe, I haven't talked to them about this, but I believe they used to be called banana babies. And I lived with my sister. Aren't they cute? Yeah. It's, we'll
Can we eat it as we pod?
let's eat it. My sister introduced these to me, is what I'm trying to say.
This,
You like it?
This could become my new habit.
I'm telling you,
It's delicious.
I'm very careful about
Is it
my
dark
sugar
chocolate?
intake. They come in dark chocolate. This is dark chocolate. They come in milk chocolate. They have them with caramel in them. They have the bites. I think they have like a sprinkles one now. I'm solely a dark chocolate guy. And it's good for you. Dark chocolate is good for you.
It is.
And bananas. So it's a guiltless, like for real, I'm on a major health kick right now.
This is my thing now. This is my nighttime snack. Diana's bananas. It's delicious.
Isn't it good?
It's delicious.
And it's got the same.
And the cold is nice.
It scratches the ice cream itch for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like
And
I'm
the
eating a
chocolate
dessert.
itch.
And it's a dessert.
Dude, you just turned me on to something. This is going to become my thing.
My goal, I want to popularize these because
You
I
want to
actually
get
love
free
them.
ones for the rest of your life.
Yeah, there you go. That can be our deal. We haven't figured it out quite yet, but that would be fine,
I love it.
right?
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Do you hide them from your kids?
They're not allowed to eat them. I don't allow them. I've convinced them that dark chocolate will keep them awake all night, which is not a lie, but I've convinced them.
I've had certain foods I've hidden from my kids.
Yeah. Now they will steal them. My 4-year-old will steal them.
Yeah.
I've caught him hiding under tables with these.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he goes up in the playroom and he hides in their little playhouse. But I'll buy them the milk chocolate ones. But ever since my youngest would go to the grocery store with me when he was 2, he goes with me every week. He will remind me, don't forget the bananas. He calls them banana babies, but they're Diana's frozen bananas. He says, don't forget the banana babies. And
How many in a pack?
I think it's just 4.
I'd have to buy more than 1 pack.
Right.
Yeah.
But sometimes Public has buy one, go one free.
BOGO.
I mean,
For people that go to the grocery store, BOGO.
do you like going to the grocery store?
Love going to the grocery store.
Me too.
My
What's your
wife-
favorite grocery store?
My wife hates it.
Same. Hannah
And-
hates it.
And so to me, it's kind of a way to stay sexy is look at her and go, you want me to go to the grocery store?
Hannah will just order groceries if she needs
Yeah.
groceries. I love.
But if you just order them, how do you ever become aware of the new stuff?
That's right. And it's harder to me. It's harder to me to find it, and especially produce. What am I going to get?
yeah, because the person there will pick up the first bag.
That's right.
I got to look through the bags, and I'll probably reach to the back.
And so okay. You like the store?
Love the grocery
Me
store.
too.
My friends make fun of me,
Really?
but I'm like, I don't care. I love going
It's
to the
fun.
grocery store.
Do you get recognized every time you go out?
Yeah.
And you just have to like every time you
know,
go to the grocery store, you're like, okay.
I will say this because there's levels of fame, but growing up, nothing prepares you for it. But at some point, your mind changes, and it's just like if I pull up in front of a drugstore to get out to run in, I know somebody's going to take my picture, somebody's going to stop me, and you just kind of go, okay, that's part of the deal.
Yeah.
But it stops you from doing like I love to go to Georgia football games, but I have to be in somebody's box now because if I'm sitting out where I really want to sit, I don't get to watch the game.
Right.
Because it's
You're the Taylor Swift of the Georgia games.
yeah.
I get it.
I mean, and people are nice. Hey, dude, can I get a picture? Yeah.
Right.
Well, the guy next to him goes, oh, he's taking pictures.
And then
can I get
before
a
you
picture?
know, there's a line.
And then all of a sudden there's
Yeah.
20 people standing there and you're like, I'm not getting to watch the game.
Certainly there are places that you just will not go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
I find I don't know if it's because of that. I don't like big crowds, but I don't like
unless you're standing in the middle of them with a
with
microphone.
a microphone. But I've never been. I've always been the kind of guy I would rather sit around and talk to 2 or 3 people,
Yeah.
and have a good talk,
Yeah.
than to be part of a big group out somewhere.
Small talking is the worst.
Hate small talk.
Me too.
But if I can sit on the back porch with 2 people and sit there for 2 hours and talk,
Now we're talking.
even as a teenager, that's what appealed to me.
Same. That's why I'm doing this. That's actually the reason I'm doing this podcast.
You just like
I
to
don't
talk.
care if no one listens.
Right.
Fortunately, some people are, but I needed an outlet to talk and to be able to share that. Because I don't know. I mean, surely you can relate to this. Not only do I like to talk, I like to share.
Yeah.
I like showing as many people as I can a thing that I'm excited about, or that I'm thinking about, or that I think is like there's something. I certainly didn't go down the stand-up path, but even with creating little comedy shorts, there's just something about there being an idea that starts as one thing, and then you make it, and it turns into kind of a new version of that thing, and then you share it, and you see a reaction in people, and it's just, I don't know. I need that.
Conversation is an exchange of ideas.
Yeah.
And you never know, like the little Richard Petty line with me, you never know during those exchanges when something you're going to pick out is going to stick with you for a long time. And you like to share because it validates the humanity that we share.
Okay. Yeah, that's what it is.
Like, as a comic, what I'm always looking for, it doesn't matter if you grew up black in Canada and I grew up white in Georgia, there's things we share. There's
That's right.
common bonds we have. And so that's part of my job, is to find that.
Yep.
And
when we sell comedy videos to companies and they're teetering on how comedic they actually want it, I said, well, comedy is really just empathy plus. If we can figure out how to make your target audience laugh at the right things, then now all of a sudden you've built a relationship with them and they feel understood by you, and then you can tell them whatever you want.
100%.
Right? And that's what you've done so well in your comedy, is like you truly found your lane of how to relate with a massive piece of the population, and even outside of that. Because I would think, when you think about like the redneck stuff, sure, like there's obviously a sector of the population that relates to all of it, but the rest of the people just have those people in their family.
Yeah.
So it's literally everyone.
It's everyone.
Like when I was 11 and listening to your tape, I was listening to it with my 60-year-old grandmother, and I was 11, who grew up in Verbena, Alabama, and I grew up in suburban Georgia.
But it resonated with her.
We were both cracking up because we're probably thinking of the same person in our family.
Well, I think for me as a comic, I got real lucky early, because I remember when I first started, I would like watch commercials or look at billboards and go, what can I talk about? And I just found something that clicked, and that was, I just accepted, if I think something, or if my wife says something, or if my family does something, I'm going to assume other people are thinking, saying, and doing the same things. So if I have a weird thought, like in one of those jokes I said, out of all the cereals, Captain Crunch is the most time intensive. Here's what I'm talking about. You eat it too soon after you pour the milk on, and you will rip the roof of your mouth to shreds.
And you can't hear.
And you wait, you can't. You rip your. But if you wait too long after you pour the milk on, the captain will put a film on your teeth a wire brush can't get rid of. Now that's just a thought of mine going. What the hell happens to Captain Crunch that when it gets soggy, it's like
It's
a
so
film.
gross.
And-
What's in there?
But if you try to go too far the other way, you rip your mouth apart. So I just have this thought, and I go on stage and say it, and everybody laughs. And so that validates my template. If I think something or if my wife says something, and then you have the joke about, I say, women always have more questions than men have answers to. I get a text, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck. I'll walk in the kitchen, find my wife. Hey, I just got a text. Said, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck. And she said, was he driving? I said, I don't know. I just got a text that he was. Were Carol and the kids in the car with him? I don't know. I just got a text that please. Were the people in the other car hurt too? I don't know. And when I'm doing that joke on stage, I see guys just elbowing their wives or pointing at them. And so again, it validates the template. You can live on the other side of the country. You're having that thought or your wife is saying that thing. And that's finding that.
I just remembered something. You just sparked a memory.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, this is not. This will make you feel good. When I was a sophomore in college, I had the good fortune of getting an internship at the Sydney Olympics.
Oh, wow.
And it was a very low-level job at the International Broadcasting Center there.
But you got to go to Australia?
Yeah.
Pretty
and then
cool.
then we all did Salt Lake as well. It was a really cool program I was part of. But my job in Sydney was I was a shot lister. So there was a row of about 20 of us with monitors watching events, non-edited, just real-time camera feeds with keyboards. And anytime something significant happened, we had to type it in and hit enter, and it would time code it. And this is how they do highlight packages: is they have this database of all the things and the codes. That's because there are a bunch
never
of
thought about that being somebody's job.
yeah. There's a bunch of 19-year-olds in there typing that, right? And I was happy to be in Sydney, but 14 hours a day shot listing is it's not the job you want.
No.
I was bored out of my mind. I listened to like 3 of your albums multiple times. And I remember my friend Joe Schwanger from New Jersey was in that same room, and he was listening to them.
Joe Schwanger?
Joe Schwanger.
What
And
a
we were
great
laughing about your
name.
jokes. I just remembered you got me through shot listing hell in Sydney, Australia
With Joe Schwanger.
with Joe Schwanger.
What a great
And
name.
I think what reminded me was that bit was on one of the albums. That was one of the bits. Because that's an older bit, right? Would that have been around in 2000? In 2000?
No, probably not.
Oh.
No.
So
But
maybe it wasn't.
it's like, see that thing up there at the top?
Yeah.
So apparently they took my CD on the space shuttle, and because
What?
I did a bit on there about the NASA Space Center being in Huntsville, Alabama, and
Oh, right.
break 19,
Yeah, I remember that.
and there's the picture of the shuttle and the thing, the American flag from the thing and the crew, and so I said to them, did you just take it on or did you actually listen to it? And they said, we listened to it like 3 times during their space mission.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, that's
That
cool.
is so cool.
Yeah, that's why it's on the wall.
Someone was listening to you in space.
In the space shuttle.
Jeff, the life you've lived,
It's weird.
it's so weird.
All right, so you want me to tell you about the one below it?
Yes.
So somebody
Is
told
that
me
Jackie Robinson?
Ted Williams. Somebody
Okay.
told me Ted Williams was a fan of mine. And so I put together like a thing of my books and CDs, and I wrote him a little letter. And I said, get me his address. I'll send it to him. I sent it to him. And he sends this back. It's rolled up, and it's kind of crinkled where you can see where his hand. It's got a rubber band around. And this is Ted Williams' first major league at bat. and he wrote to Jeff, this is no joke, Ted Williams. And he himself sent it to me. And I thought,
Holy
that's
smokes.
really cool.
You have to have stories of people that you found out were your fans that like that. You have more stories like that.
Crazy.
Where you're like, wait, you're my fan?
Right. Ted Williams.
Unbelievable. But certainly there's other baseball players that, I mean, of course, you've been friends with a bunch of the Braves.
Yeah.
You still friends with a lot of those guys?
Yeah.
Smoltz and NASCAR.
Yeah, it's like, I remember from time to time, I can't let other people go through my phone because I'm like, my contact list is not like everybody else's contact.
Right. We used to do a game called Cell Phone Roulette. This is the best. Listen, let me tell you. You got to do this. At some point, you're just going to have to, with one of your other friends who has a Rolodex like this is what you have to do. Okay. So what happens is you give me your phone, and I start scrolling your contacts until you say stop. I call the number, and I put it up to your ear, and you have to talk to this person, and you can't know who it is. And you can't ask.
And it may have been 10 years since you've talked
Yes,
to them.
you can't ask.
Oh,
and you have to justify calling them.
How embarrassing.
It's so funny. It's so funny. Tyler and I used to do it all the time. We would do it from stage sometimes.
It takes cojones to do that.
Yeah.
So they know it's you.
They know it's you.
Because they see your name come
Yeah.
up.
And they're like, oh, hey, Jeff. And you're like, hey, how is everybody?
Oh.
And you got to just...
And then you got to think of a reason you call.
You got to think of a reason. You cannot tell them why you're calling until you figure out who it is. Until you say, Donna, it has been how long? When you can clue us in that you know, then you're allowed to tell them.
But it could have been like somebody from your old babysitter.
Yeah.
That's a great game.
Yeah. It's a great game. It's a road trip game.
I love that.
Yeah.
So Tripp, let me ask you a question. What is a skill you have people don't know about?
Oh, that's an easy one. I am so embarrassing. I don't think I've talked about this yet. I am a nerd. I'm a closet computer nerd.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I spend a lot of time learning how to build. I don't code, but I use these no-code platforms I'd like to build automations. I like to figure out things that I can automate.
That's interesting.
It's
I
so
didn't
nerdy.
know this
No
about
one would
you.
ever guess. So like right now, I'll give you an example of one. I built this 2 years ago. Not 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. Now it's probably something that people can get. But I can hold up my phone and hit the voice recorder app and talk about an idea that I have. And by the time I get home, in this database I have, there's a new line item with that idea and a summary, and it's tagged. And so this is how I keep up with all my ideas. Because I thought, I wish I could just talk in my phone and not have to remember where I saved the thing.
That's freaking brilliant.
Right. I mean, now there's apps that like literally just do that for you. But
So on the technology scale, you're way over there and I'm way over here.
I'm way over there. And it makes no sense.
Well, it does. Does it to you? Yeah.
I mean, it can be a crisis sometimes because I will spend hours and I think, wait, is this actually the thing that I like? Have I been trying to do something else? But then I go back to doing comedy films and I'm like, no, I love nothing more than this. And I've just had to accept that I like doing some really a variety of things that don't really overlap at all.
I get it.
I like being on stage. I like being behind the camera. I like being in front of the camera. I like being at my laptop learning about no-code automation and building AI automations. I don't know how to make sense of that. But I just enjoy it. This is what I enjoy. And I actually decided that's the thing I want to enjoy, and I don't want everyone the pressure to make money off of it. I'll just do it, and I'll figure out useful ways to use it in my life. Because sometimes when you start some hobbies are just better hobbies
Agreed.
as hobbies, right?
Agreed. Yeah.
And my wife is that way with painting. Like she doubled down at one point and got really into painting and selling her paintings online, and she did very well at it. And she came to a point where she thought, I don't enjoy this anymore. This was more fun when it was something I did in my spare time, and every now and then someone would want one.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I kind of did that with my art. Is then somebody said, well, you should sell it. And then once I got into the whole G-Clay reproductions and signing thing, and then I'm like, oh,
And then
it's
it just
not
becomes
fun
another
anymore.
thing with
It's
all
not
the-
an escape anymore.
Right. It's another thing you have to think strategically
So
about.
I quit doing it. Yeah.
That's what wears me out. Is as soon as I have to strategize about something and think about, the right ways to get this in the market and who the audience is and what platform and how's it going to sell and how much is it, it ruins it.
Yeah. It ruins the whatever is in something creative.
That's right.
Creating something out of nothing.
That's right.
And God never had to do that. He didn't go, how am I going to make money? If I can light the planet
Right.
12 hours a day, how can I monetize this?
As far as we know, maybe he's not up there like competing with other gods on his planet building skills.
Yeah, his creativity was just for his own amusement.
Right. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I mean, and that's one thing that I'm sure you can relate to this on some level, but I know you can't completely because you've been so successful. But I have a lot of friends that are creatives that have creative jobs. They're not celebrities. Some of them have brushed with that. They've had some notable success. It is a very difficult thing to be mildly successful at something creative because it always feels like maybe it's time to just hang it up. Or maybe I'm on the maybe I'm just one more.
So it's that razor.
You're just always there. It's fun when you're 20 because everything's an experiment.
Right.
But when you're 40 and you're doing well, but not, you can't be sure it's going to keep going over, for the next year. And I've talked to, designers, musicians. This is a big one for musicians. Being a musician's got to be hard because you make it big. It's not too different than being a comedy. Moderately successful comedians are not making that much money.
No, but out of musicians, how many make it big?
Very few.
Very few, and so most are in the moderately to low success.
And that's not an easy place to stay.
Yeah.
And then every now and then one of you pops out of the comedy world or, a Chapel Roan pops out and it's like, oh, okay, well now that this is me, this is what I get to do. Yeah. And so I have a lot of empathy for creative people who are trying to decide if this should be a hobby or if it should be a job. Because
I get it.
It can be tough. And that's a topic that I've found a lot of people write in about. And that's why I wanted to ask you this. Perfect segue. Oh, by the way, the segue about the dark was the dark chocolate.
Okay.
I'm sure you picked up on that.
I got it.
What is the biz part of showbiz for you? Or what has it been?
It's funny because I have a lot of friends that are musicians, and we've had this discussion many times. But I tell my musician friends, I said, if you write 4 hits, you play till you're 90, because people will come from a long way away to hear those 4 songs. They may enjoy your other stuff. They may even get into your new stuff, but they've come to hear those 4 songs.
Are you arriving at number? Is 4 just sort of an arbitrary?
It's an arbitrary number. 3, 5, doesn't
Sure.
matter.
Okay, I get the point.
As a comic, if I did an album or a CD or even now a special, people go, that was funny. What have you got that's new? You don't get to play the greatest hits. They don't want to hear the greatest hits.
That's so true.
They want to hear the new stuff. And so,
That's right.
whereas
Jokes. You don't want to hear jokes over and over like you do songs.
no. So the Eagles can play the Spear
Oh my God.
with songs they wrote 40 years ago.
Oh my God.
If I want to play the Spear, I've got to go grind out another hour's worth of material.
Maybe
And
more.
so
Good grief. I never
So
thought
over
of
the
it
course
like
of my life, I think I've done like 7 or 8 comedy albums. I've done 2 Showtime specials, 2 or 3 HBO specials, 3 blue collar comedy tour movies, 50 Tonight shows, a dozen Lettermans. So you think about how much material that's burned. Oh, I've done 2 or 3 Netflix specials too. So over the course of my career, I've probably written 30 or 40 hours of material. And anytime I do a special, like Leno told me in '84 at a Waffle House, he goes, your goal should be to write 1 new minute a week. You're not going to be able to do it, but that should be your goal. And I remember being a kid going, a minute a week? Hell, I can write 20 minutes a week. But he was right. If you're on stage every night doing it, over the course of a year and you're working your ass off, maybe you can come up with an hour's worth of new material. So every time I did a record or a special, now that year's worth of work is gone. Oh my God. And you're back to square one. And you're like, okay, I got to grind for another year to get another record or special. So there comes a time when you're just like, I've hit writing blocks where I go, I can't. Or I've dug my heels in going, I don't feel like doing it again. I don't feel like going back to square one again.
Oh my gosh. You know what you should do? Zach and I were noticing the other day that there's a trend on YouTube, like Key and Peele, who have tons of a library of content. Suddenly they're uploading the hours of their content just strung together. You should do a 30-hour set and live stream that shit on YouTube.
It is Tripp. It is so weird.
Has anyone ever done just go, I'm gonna play all the, this is everything.
This is everything I've ever thought of.
And make a benefit out of it or whatever and live stream that. And just that would be if you don't do that, I hope someone does. That would be amazing.
It is to the point, like sometimes, like if you go on one of the comedy channels on Sirius, I will hear me come on and do a bit, and I never remember saying those words in my life. And I'll be going down the road.
That's a lot of material.
I'll be going down the road going, oh, crap, that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. And I don't remember.
You don't even remember it.
I mean, there come a point where I go, wait, yeah, that's kind of, but I don't.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. I don't even remember the premise.
So you couldn't even do that anyway. Like you wouldn't even, you'd have to, it'd be work to just go back and.
People will come up to me before a show and go, hey, will you tell the thing about when you were a kid and you saw your grandmother naked? And I'm like, do you remember how it started? I'm like, I don't remember. Like I remember one.
How about you tell it?
Yeah, I'm going to bring
me.
you up. You tell it.
I'll tell you if it was good. See if you can make me laugh with my material. That might be entry into the old people club.
It might be.
If your own records are making you laugh because it feels like new
like
material.
Larry the Cable Guy and Ron and we remember each other's jokes that the others have forgotten about. And I'm like, oh, dude, I loved it when, and Ron's like, I don't even remember that joke. I'm like, I've done that with Leno. I'll go, you know, one of my favorite jokes of yours. He's like, I don't even remember that joke, you know. So
Wow. That's awesome. That is what a
weird job.
What a thing to be able to say though, that you've done so much material that your fans remember it better than you do. No musician can say that.
No, music's different.
It's so different.
Yeah.
Please only play the hits.
God, like if I'm going to go to some throwback Counting Crows concert or something, don't you dare play a new song that you wrote this year.
I don't want it.
No. It's Mr. Jones.
And think about at least somebody like the Eagles, there's enough songs that you can rotate them in and out through.
That's right.
Think about Chubby Checker with the twist. That's it. Do you think when he's on stage and the first few notes of the twist start, do you think he gets like that hot orange juice vomit in the back of his throat where he goes, I got to sing this freaking song?
I've thought about that with a number of music artists that are one-hit wonders. Like,
yeah, and you've got to play that song.
You have to.
The guy, Mike Smartack in Nashville, love Mike Smartack, who was the first guy to ever promote my concerts, and I was asking him one day how he got into it. He said, well, in college, I thought, well, maybe I could be a show promoter. And so the first person that he booked, he saved up all his money, and he's bringing Don McLean into his college to play. He's got all his money in, and McLean comes in and goes, I'm not playing American Pie.
But you have to.
And he goes, then you're forget the deal. You're playing American Pie. That's the only thing everybody here wants to hear is American Pie.
Oh my gosh.
But you can see too, from McLean's standpoint, it's like, I'm sick of it. It's a 12-minute song. I'm sick of singing it, you know.
Man. And then there's some groups that have had, like the Eagles, like Taylor Swift, who can play 2 straight hours of songs everyone wants to hear.
Yeah, crazy.
It's crazy.
The Stones, you know. You can rotate songs in and out.
What's the best concert you've ever been to? What's your favorite one you went to? You like concerts?
I do like concerts. I love music. I've had a couple. My daughter Jordan, she's in high school, and I walked past her room one night, and I'm listening, and I hear Springsteen, "Darkness on the Edge of Town" album playing, coming out of her room, and I'm like, what the hell? And I walk in there, and she's listening, and I'm like, where'd you get that? She said, I found your CD case from years ago, and I'm just going through listening to CDs. And so she was loving the music that I grew up on. And so one night I was doing a show down in Florida, and the guy that was promoting the show or whatever that was there, he was the road manager for Billy Joel, and Billy Joel and Elton John were doing the thing together downtown. And I said, oh my God, I said, my daughter can sing every Billy Joel and Elton John song. She just loves all that old 70s music. And he goes, well, we're in Atlanta next week. Are you home next week? I look at my calendar and I go, yeah, I'm actually am. He goes, all right, here's my number, call me. And so I take Jordan out to dinner, just the two of us, and she has no idea we're going. And we go downtown, walk in the back of,
what was it?
It wasn't Mercedes at the time. I guess it was
the Georgia Dome.
Georgia Dome. And we walk in. The guy goes, hey, come on in. Unlocks the door. She still doesn't know where, and it's just Billy Joel in the room. And we sit in there, and she talks to Billy Joel. And
had you ever met Billy Joel?
No.
What's he like?
He was as nice as he could be. Cool as
he's awesome.
He's like, Jordan, you want to see the set list? And he opens up his. She's petting his dog, and he's opening up his briefcase, and he goes, here's what we're going to play tonight. And she's like, are you going to play Italian restaurant? And he goes, oh yeah. So then we go out, and the guy goes, I got you seats out in the audience, or seats up in a box up there. He said, but if y'all don't want to sit there, I can take 2 chairs and I can put them on the edge of the stage, and y'all can watch.
No.
And so.
No.
And Jordan goes, I don't care. And I go, I do. I do. I want the chairs. So we sat on the edge of the stage. Billy and Elton come out, and they're playing each other's songs to start.
Oh, yeah.
With both their bands. Then Billy leaves, and Elton, just his band. And Jordan knows that every one of these songs does it. Then Elton leaves. Billy comes out with his band, and he's playing. The guy comes up and taps me on the shoulder, and he said, hey, Elton wants to meet y'all. And so we walk back there, and then we sit down backstage with Elton John and visit with him. And they both take pictures with her and sign her thing. And so at the end of the night, we walk out, and I'll go in the parking lot, and I go, don't ever ask me to take you to another concert because I cannot top this.
That's amazing. That better be the one.
That's the one.
Oh,
Because
my
it made
God.
my daughter so freaking happy.
And it was good music that you liked.
Great music. We both loved the music. She knew every song.
Oh my gosh. That's so awesome. Man. My claim to fame is I went to Michael Jackson's last concert.
Wow, that's big.
It was, I don't know if you remember this, he did his own 25th anniversary up at Madison Square Garden. And he had all these, there were like 20 other artists that came out and covered his songs. Wow. And it was, I mean, maybe Billy Joel was there, but it was like huge artists. Even Liza Minnelli and, of course, I can't remember any of them now. It was huge artists. Ray Charles performed that night.
Wow.
But here's the interesting about that concert. Not only was it his last one, I was up there in New York and got my picture at the Twin Tower. This was September.
Shut up.
This was September 9th, 2001.
Shut up. So you're one of the last people to have your picture made with the Twin Towers.
I have I don't know if you remember this. You could buy disposable cameras that
the
had
cardboard.
the panoramic setting.
Yeah.
I have a panoramic picture from September 9th of the skyline from out in the boat that goes to the Statue of Liberty.
One of the last ever
One of
taken.
the last ever taken. And I wasn't even supposed to be there. We asked to go to the Empire State Building, and the taxi cab driver took us to the World Trade Center. And and then I flew home on the 10th.
Shut up.
No. Isn't that wild?
That's crazy.
Yeah. And there was something about seeing Michael Jackson that was really surreal. Because I grew up,
Sure.
Thriller came out when I was 4. And my family was jamming Thriller. I mean, then when he came out with his albums, like he was, and so there was something really weird about actually seeing, because Michael Jackson was he was so much larger than life.
Yeah.
I mean, he's kind of gone down in history in not such a good way as well.
But
Maybe.
it's something like anytime you meet somebody like that, it's always weird.
Yeah.
Like I got to see Springsteen one time, and the guy said, same thing, sat on the side of the stage, me and Greg, my wife, and guy comes up and says, would you like to meet Bruce? Well, I think we're going to a meet and greet or in a room.
Right.
So it's right after the show's over, and he walks down the hallway, knocks on the door, opens it. I walk in, he closes the door, and it's Bruce coming out of the shower in a white T-shirt and blue jeans, drying his hair. Hey, man, how are you? You know, just me and Bruce in a room.
Have you watched?
And you know what my question to him was?
What was it?
I said, all right, I got one question. I said, how can a 20-year-old write lyrics like young girls sitting on the hood of a Dodge drinking warm beer in the soft summer rain? I said, nobody 20 should be able to write that. And he kind of smiled. He goes, you know, I want to write stuff I wasn't going to be embarrassed singing 30 years later. I'm like, well, mission accomplished.
Wow.
Mission accomplished.
Have you watched the Netflix documentary on We Are the World?
Yes.
I love his appearance in there.
Yes. The whole thing was fascinating.
The whole thing was, I've watched it 3 times. You talk about the creative process.
Yes.
And having this brilliant, like the Quincy Jones going, no, we're not going to record one part at a time, which would have been the obvious thing to do.
Right.
I want mics in the room. I want everyone seeing each other.
Yeah.
Because it will be different. Like a real artist knows that.
And a real artist had to recognize other real artists and to put their diviness
Right.
in the...
Well, it was fascinating because they were all in there intimidated of each other.
To the point Bob Dylan couldn't even sing.
Right, Bob Dylan. I mean, can he ever? But anyway. And then that whole thing where was it Stevie Wonder impersonating Bob Dylan to
Yes.
Bob Dylan to
Yeah.
help Bob Dylan know what he should sing?
Yes.
That documentary was incredible from start to
That's
finish.
something about me. I love documentaries. I love learning. I love learning stuff. Have you seen the one Muscle Shoals?
No, should I? I'll put it on my list. I love documentaries.
It's the guys that took the music studio, 3 regular guys, not in the music business, and created a music studio and record labels. Like they sent Aretha Franklin down there because she had done 3 records and none of them sold. And so their last chance was she got down there and they were like, what do you do well? What do you do good? And she's like, starts pecking out Respect. And they go, let's record that. And
so I relate to you on liking music and not being good at it. I love music documentaries more than anything.
Love my favorite.
And if I can find a YouTube video where I can just like see behind the scenes of someone's process, there's something about the songwriting process that is more inspiring to me than hearing about how someone writes a joke or makes a movie. I don't know if it's because I can't do it.
Have you ever seen how Bono does it?
No.
So they're playing the Edge and the rest of them. They get kind of the music groove, and Bono is like following them, and he sings these non-words, but they're the lyrics to the song. But he's like, just
feeling out how it goes.
Feeling how it goes, but it's in the exact places where he sings. And then he has to go back and put words in there later, create the words.
I love this. Certainly you saw the Beatles one.
Yes.
Where they're just right there in front of your eyes. He's like figuring out.
Dude, and when they
Imagine.
at the end of it and they go up to the roof and they play, I'm not ashamed to say, I sat there and cried. I had tears rolling down my face.
I don't blame you.
And I'm like, this is the moment where through all of that creative bickering and back and forth,
Right.
and lights are on, people are there, and it's awesome.
I think there's something about the creative process that encapsulates. Of course, I think this as a creative person, but I feel like it encapsulates just the human experience. It's because there's so much strife. Even you watched in the Beatles documentary, they were on the verge of falling apart. They hated each other for moments. And I've talked to other comedians and comedy filmmakers, and you talk to them, and they're like, I'm like, is it fun? No, on set, we're mad at each other. We're miserable. Like, but
how many bands break up? They hate each other.
But it's because they know that it's a means to an end, and that end, that long-term gain of going through the blood, sweat, and tears of finding the right note, finding the right lyric, finding the right joke, the right brushstroke, forcing yourself to collaborate.
A chef, the right ingredient.
That's right. The right ingredient, the payoff at the end. There's nothing like it.
How do you think God feels about creativity? Because he is the ultimate, he is the creator. So when he sees his creation take the gifts he's given them and they create something beautiful.
That's kind of wild.
Do you sit there and think he goes, man, look what my kid did. Come here, let me show you what my kid drew. Let me show you the song.
Oh my God, that's good. I mean, I
mean, if God had a refrigerator, this stuff would be on it. Going, my kid.
That's one
did
of my
that.
favorite things about this stage of life with my kids is the stuff they're creating.
Yes, and it blows your mind.
My daughter is eerily artistic. She does these, and she's 6, 7 now. These abstract patterns, and they have symmetry and composition. And she chooses the right colors. And no one taught her this.
No, and she doesn't know how she can do it.
All right, we got to wrap this up.
Yeah, we've been talking way too long.
This has
been fun, though.
Thank you.
Yeah,
this has been great.
Don't